God damn, I need IPA.
This is Beering Ain't Easy, your podcast for beer humor, dad humor, and beer tastings from Texas and beyond. So crack one if you got one and turn it up.
All right, everyone, welcome to Beering Ain't Easy with Adam and Drew, episode number 36.
Welcome back, y'all. We've got another great episode for y'all tonight. But first, if you enjoy what you're listening to, check us out on our website at crossthestreamsmedia.com. We got our merch on there. Or you can follow us on Facebook or Instagram, what I like to call Meme Central. Or you can always check out our beers on Untapped. That's kind of like a segue into today's episode, is that when I did the editing last week, I noticed that was the first episode where we did not actually rate beers via Untapped.
Really?
Yeah. We kind of started this podcast as that being like the central focus. It didn't feel wrong to have it off of there.
That's one of our core values.
So you're saying we'll never have it again?
Yes.
I don't know. Sometimes I wonder, like, when I see other people rate beers, I'm like, why do I care?
I think that about other people, but I'm sure other people don't think that about us. The thing, when I see someone else's beer rating, like when I go to check it in, I have to look. Like if one of my friends has it, and it takes everything in me to ignore what their rating was.
That's what we're trying to do, is for all the listeners, we're trying to influence your beer ratings. So today's episode kind of circles around a vacation that Adam took.
Adam's second beercation.
Adam gets to take all the fun trips, and I'm here like fucking editing the podcast. So where'd you go this time?
Gulf Shores, Alabama.
Gulf Shores, Alabama?
Oh, yeah. It was a really exciting trip.
You make it sound so exciting.
No, it was super fun. We got a bay house with my sister's family, my parents, and my other sister, and so we all stayed in this big house on the bay.
Did you drink any beer on that trip?
I might have had one or two.
One or two, yeah, just to fit in.
We did get one night out, and we went to this bar called Floribama. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
So it sits on the coast, right on the border. It was one of the coolest bars I've been to.
Really?
You call it a bar, but it's really like a complex of bars. So they have 13 bars in there. They could have 13 different
Themes?
live music.
Oh, really?
And so it's all about live music. So there was 4 or 5 bands playing at the same time. It was pretty awesome.
You know, like, you kind of surprised me there because when you called it like Floribama, I just really had low expectations. But that sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, no, it came highly recommended.
Yeah. So because Adam went on this vacation, our focus of today's episode is going to be beer vacations. What's the best beer vacations we've taken? What is our bucket list? Places we really want to go. But before that, I think we should talk about the first beer that Adam brought back. So you went to a craft beer shop in Gulf Shores, but I noticed that you did not come back with any Alabama beer.
It was very interesting. So I talked to the guy, he explained our podcast situation. And so he pointed me to 5 or 6 beers that he didn't think would be available in Houston, but none of them were from Alabama.
So the beers you brought back, they may have not been from Alabama, but I think it followed our theme of drinking some interesting beers. And so this first one is actually called Black Pils. It's a black Pilsner, a lager with Epiphany craft malt and North Carolina rice. And this is from Highwire Brewing out of Asheville, North Carolina.
So when I saw this in the shop, I was absolutely intrigued by it and could not pass it up. I think it is a delightful beer.
When I looked at it, I had this mental block. I was like, okay, it's supposed to be a Pilsner, but I look at it and it looks kind of like a stout. It's dark, very got a coffee nose on it.
Yep.
I was trying to figure out, like, I've never had something called a black Pilsner, but I've had a Schwarzbier. It's crisp and light. It's only 4.8% ABV. It packs a lot more, coffee flavor, malt flavor than you get from a Pilsner.
First of all, I don't see hardly any similarities with a Pilsner. I think it has a good balance of maltiness and coffee. Neither overwhelming at all. I think it's delicious.
Yeah, I'm actually enjoying it myself. Before we get into our topic, are you ready to throw down a rating on this one?
I'm ready.
You just jumped right to it, huh?
I am ready. I am going a 4.0.
Damn, son, you just like coming in hot.
I'm coming in hot.
Yeah.
The first sip I took, I was like, damn, this is a good beer.
No, I enjoyed it. I'm not quite in the hype train that you are there, but I do enjoy it. So I'd probably give this bad boy a 3.75.
So this is just your everyday run-of-the-mill beer to you?
Yeah, I think so. But it gets some style points.
Yeah.
So on to the topic today, beer vacations. I think we should tell the listeners, what is the best vacation you've been on that's either been directly beer related or you had an awesome beer experience on your vacation? What jumps to your mind? And if you've got multiples, just let them fly.
So before I answer that question, I need to let the audience know about an addiction I have.
Do tell.
I've found I am incapable of going anywhere new without buying a hodgepodge of beers from that area that I cannot get locally. Like, as soon as I booked the trip to Gulf Shores, I knew that I would not be able to go there without coming home with, 6 or 7 different beers.
Yeah, when you said you went on the trip, I thought you had flown, and I was like, oh, I guess I'm not getting a beer run out of this. And you were like, hey, man, I'm going to a craft beer shop. And I was like, cha-ching. I think this past week was like National Beer Run Day. Which I feel like since I got on Instagram, there's all these fucking holidays that exist that I had no idea existed. But I'm super happy for them. It's a reason to drink.
Yeah, great holiday. Okay, so back to your original question about my favorite beer vacation. I actually think that one of my favorites is the recent trip to San Antonio. The San Antonio trip was the first trip that I've gone on since we've been pretty deep into the podcast, no kids. And where we were staying was pretty central to a lot of different breweries.
So, like, your trip was centered around breweries. I mean, how much better than
The other one is Dripping Springs. Have you been to Dripping Springs?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, it's kind of an odd place for there to be like so many breweries and distilleries and stuff like that. But it's a pretty cool place up by Austin.
I'm intrigued that like both of your spots have been Texas vacations.
I know.
That's impressive.
Well, a factor is that they're drivable.
Yeah. And you weren't into craft beer before your Texas stay. So
what about you?
I've talked a lot about the bachelor party and this podcast that I went to for Ryan that was in San Diego where we hit a ton of breweries. So that was an awesome trip, but I'm going to table that because I had 2 other beer experiences that I felt were also very awesome. The first one was actually with the kids and it was at Disney World. And if you go to Epcot, they have the different sections of Epcot that are for different countries, right? So you got Canada, you got Belgium and stuff like that. And so there's a thing, it's called like Beers Around the World. And so adults go there without their kids and they just get hammered and they just go from country to country. And so we kind of did like the PG-13 version of that. We just didn't completely get hammered because our kids were like, hey, let's go on the Elsa ride. But while we're doing that, let's stop by Belgium and let me get the Belgian beer. So we had a lot of fun there. And I mean, we got some pretty good beers from around the world. So that was a good beer experience that if you're trying to like break away from Mickey Mouse when you're at Disney World, that's the way to do it. There's still some rides and things. You can keep your kids entertained.
So are there like drunk people there?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
I've read some people just have gotten pissed off because parents with kids are like, hey, this has become like a hangout zone in Epcot now. But to me, it's the best of both worlds. There's beer and the kids have some stuff to do. They didn't like it as much as the other parks, But
Was that because Dad was getting a little sloppy?
well, it's like, can we go on one more ride, or can Dad get in line for this beer? That's kind of how it went. But the other trip that I really loved from a beer standpoint was we went to Tampa, and they have some really badass breweries in Tampa.
Yeah.
And so we went to Angry Chair, we went to Seventh Son, and of course we went to Cigar City Brewing, which you have to when you're there. And so those were all fantastic breweries, had a great time. But then like the other thing that's kind of a bonus is like in Tampa, there's like people that are hand rolling Cuban cigars. And so you just walk up and there's like shops where people are just like rolling it right in the front. You just walk in and you can just hang out and, you know, get a drink and watch them roll the cigars in there or smoke a cigar. It was a very unique city. And I was like, man, that was actually a lot of fun. So I would do it again.
Both of yours are not ones that I was expecting.
And they're in Florida. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I think it's funny. I think that just says like sometimes it's an unexpected experience where beer can take you. The more you know.
My main takeaway is that you can find good beer pretty much anywhere these days. It doesn't even need to be that good. It's just new beer that you haven't had. And that's almost just as fun sometimes as good beer.
And I think this is kind of true for restaurants too. They always say like when you look at Yelp ratings, people that are on vacation, they enjoy things more than if it's just at their house because they're having fun. They don't have like the burden of their job. And so beers taste better when you're on vacation.
Oh, yeah.
Food tastes better. Like everything is like, oh, this is amazing. But if you're there, it may not be as good. But still, like vacation beer is something you can't replicate.
Which is all the more reason that we need to go on a beercation together to a top-notch beer producing area.
Let's take this podcast on the road.
I think we need to. I think Jody and Meredith need to realize that this podcast has grown beyond Houston.
We need to take this show on the road. I couldn't help but notice when you came into the room today that you were hobbling a little bit. Can you tell us why you're a little bit crippled today?
I am very crippled today. Not as crippled as I will be tomorrow morning, though.
I don't think Adam's ever borrowed more shit from me in his life, but like every day it's like, well, I'm like hauling some lumber or I'm like stamping some concrete. I don't even know what's going on over there.
I'm hiding it from you so you only see the grand reveal.
Yeah, I had kind of did like a mini upgrade on my back porch, and then all of a sudden like Adam's like fully like nuked his backyard and it's like starting over. So I'm like, is this going to be like just completely like an epic upshowing of my house or what?
As soon as I saw your patio upgrade, I ran home to Jody and I said, we gotta outdo Drew and Meredith.
Keeping up with the Joneses.
So what's going down right now is that I'm building a little deck off of our patio. Normally, I would never consider doing something like this myself. And as I get further into it, I'm
regretting your decision.
Regretting my decision, but the scope of this patio revamp has just grown and grown. And so at some point, I'm like, I gotta get this fucking cost under control. It's like save a little bit by breaking my back and sweating my balls off.
You picked a great time to like work in the backyard.
Oh yeah, my precious office worker hands are.
Your soft hands getting some calluses on them. So I think the cost thing makes a little bit of sense, but I was going to ask you, like, I was so confused, like you pay for your yard work to be done, but then you go and try to like manhandle a super complex task, like building a deck, or I'm the opposite. I'm going to do the easy shit. Like I'm going to go mow my yard every weekend and do the back-breaking mulching. But when it comes to like high finesse work, I'm like, I'm paying an expert to do that so I don't fuck it up.
Well, I'm empty. I'm ready to get in to this next beer.
The main event.
The main event.
And this is the one you said that the guy at the bottle shop said was his top pick, right?
Yes, he said it was his top pick. It was a little bit pricey. So I initially put it on the counter. Then I got about 7 more 4-packs and realized what was going down. And so then I put it back. And then the guy was like, you're not going to want to put that back. And he's like, at least do a little research before you put it back. And that is what got me. I did a little research.
Got you hooked in.
Yep, he hooked me in, and here we are. This beer is by Westbrook Brewing Company out of Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. And this beer is Mexican cake. It's an Imperial Stout. It has a very interesting description. So let me just read to the audience for a moment. A serious Imperial Stout aged on cocoa nibs, vanilla beans, cinnamon sticks, and fresh habanero peppers.
Ooh, damn.
So I am really, really looking forward to tasting it because the owner of the craft beer store said it's called Mexican cake and it tastes exactly like a Mexican cake.
I'm not sure what a Mexican cake is supposed to taste like.
It's a chocolate Mexican cake.
Okay.
I just assumed he meant a chocolate cake. But when we had the conversation about the beer at the store, I just did not envision any habanero in it.
It's a twist.
It's a twist.
So we got 2 Carolinas. We got the North Carolina and the South Carolina. I realized I missed a chance to do some Petey Pablo.
North Carolina. All right, let me crack this bad boy open.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pours out of the bottle like a syrup.
Lovely syrup. What's the ABV on this?
10.5.
10.5.
I actually thought it might be a little higher.
This is one of those stout in the summertime moments that we're having right here.
That was a factor in why I almost put this beer back.
Yeah. So I posted that beer meme about having to drink all your stouts to clear out room for summer beers. And it was really funny to see some of the Facebook responses to that. Some people were like, hell yeah, I'm right with you. And then other people were like, stout season is all year round.
Oh, yeah.
That was a lot more polarizing topic than I thought. I was like, I'm just trying not to sweat my ass off.
But it is true that we do drink stouts all year.
Wow, it's a lot sweeter than I thought it would be. It's got a little bit of habanero kick at the end.
See, I was expecting it to be sweet. How does the mouth feel?
Oh, it's thick, thickety thick.
I'm too immature to ask that question without laughing.
If you knew how many times I cut out Adam talking about mouthfeel in our podcast, it would be like every episode.
Wow. It has a different taste than I was expecting.
I think let's sip on this one a little bit and let's come back and talk about it. But in the meantime,
let's get back to talking about mouthfeel.
So back to beer vacations.
All right.
So we talked about the ones we've taken. Now we say no limit. What's the beer vacation you want to take?
Okay, so there is 2 beer vacations that I want to take. Portland is number 1.
Oh, yeah?
They're just really like Northwest in general. Like I feel like they have so many good breweries in that area that it would be fun to go there.
Portland's supposed to be a top brewery city in the nation.
Yeah.
It's not probably as niche of a thing as it was like 5 years ago now that everyone's blown up, but it's still one of the OGs.
Yeah, so that's one that I would like. And then the other one is San Diego. Like I've been to when I lived in Las Vegas, we probably went to San Diego 5 or 6 times, but I never went to a brewery.
It's like the Game of Thrones. Shame. Shame. So is there any brewery, if you said, I want to go to this brewery, no matter where it's located, is there anyone that jumps out? It's like, man, that's a bucket list brewery for me.
Russian River.
That's a great choice.
It's got to be.
Yeah. Pliny the Elder.
Yeah.
Straight from the source.
Straight from the source. I mean, because like I thought that was such a good beer when I had it out of the can.
And you imagine that coming out of the keg.
Ooh.
If only.
If only. Take a moment of silence for it.
So I also have 2 selections for my beer vacation.
All right.
The first one is going international.
Really?
I would love to go to Munich for Oktoberfest.
Ooh, I was not expecting that.
Because, I mean, like when you think about just epic beer events, that just sticks out to me as one that's like the unique, bucket list, life-changing experience. So I'd love to do that. The second thing is actually, I'd love to go to Maine.
I thought you were going to say Iowa.
No, I was, we've talked about Iowa. One, I love the Maine Brewing Company. And actually, today, this stout we're drinking, I'm drinking out of my Maine Beer Company glasses. I don't know what it is, but I love their beers. I love everything they got going on. They're like they're almost like too good for you because their slogan's like do what's right, and they don't chase can art or like fancy names. It's like just this like professional. Yeah. They just look too good for me, so I feel like I need to go there. I don't know that I'd fit in personally.
I'm pretty sure you wouldn't.
But that's one part, and I've heard there's other good breweries other than the Maine Beer Company. But I also am like a huge Stephen King fan, and like the setting in every single one of his books is in Maine. And I've never been to Maine. I don't know anything about it, but it sounds interesting, and I feel like that would be one of those things where like I would scratch off going to a new state and checking out one of my favorite breweries. I feel like between the 2 of those are some pretty awesome trips, but like, what is the trip going to be that's the Beer Ain't Easy dual family vacation that we got to plan out? Like, that's we got to find something that's a little more attainable than probably, at least cut out all my overseas trips.
Yeah, the overseas are out of the question.
Yeah, so I think we need to like work on.
Well, I guess the question is, why does it have to be a family trip?
Ooh, I like the sound
It's
of
a
this.
business trip.
You're right. Can we write it off on our taxes?
Beer and Ain't Easy. The official Beer and Ain't Easy business trip.
Can we charter our own plane? I've got some like cheap ass decals I can put out.
They'll fly off during the flight.
Can I make a reel of, hey, can you just put this on the plane just for a second so I get a photo of? So before we wrap the episode up, I think we need to talk about this beer a little more. Now that, it's warmed up to a nice temperature.
It has.
Still trying to figure it out. It's a very unique beer. What are your thoughts?
When it was a little bit colder, I got a lot of more of the chocolate sweetness. Now I'm getting a much stronger habanero. It's really picked up.
It's got a lot of kick to it. It's got some heat. I still get the silky chocolate on the very beginning, and then it's all habanero on the back end.
And our podcast room is hot to start with, and so now this is making me sweat.
We haven't figured this out, but my house can be like freaking completely comfortable, and this office is like the fucking pressure cooker or something. It's hot in here. It's like, maybe it's these 100-watt bulbs we have in here.
Yeah. Pressure cooker.
Police interrogation. I'm enjoying it. The habanero is almost a little too much for me. I like a little subtle habanero. This one, once you keep drinking it, it just stays in the back of your throat, and it's hard to like clear it out. I do like the sweetness at the beginning. I still think it's a pretty nice stout, so I'm going to go 3.75.
I agree. I am not a fan of habanero beers. I can't think of like a stout with habanero that hasn't overpowered it. And to be honest, if I would have read the label, regardless of what the Untapped ratings were, I wouldn't have got it.
I mean, the thing about peppers is they build on themselves. It's just like eating spicy food. It's like it doesn't get better as you keep eating. It builds on itself. And so I feel like this one does a little bit too.
I think like the flavor profile is, I get pretty much what you got, but like the chocolate sweetness taste is so quick at the beginning, and then it's like, wham!
Left hook.
I'm disappointed because I had high expectations. I'll be honest.
When you put it back from the counter to the shelf and he came back and said, hey, bud, you really need to rethink that decision. You go in with really high expectations.
Well, not only that, but like the average Untappd rating was like 4.3 and it had like 20,000 ratings. And so that really got me going. It
really has a nice flavor. That I really like the flavor, but if you like a little bit of spicy, this is your beer for sure, though.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. So if you're into habanero stouts, this is a great one.
Yep.
Well, I think the audience is getting sick of listening to our bullshit.
We've already brought on the ratings. We had a little flashback to our old school episodes there. For our loyal listeners, you'll understand what just happened. For the newbies, just move on.
Just move on and act like you didn't hear anything.
So this is a great episode today. I appreciate the beer run from Alabama, Adam. That was really fantastic.
You owe me gas money?
Gas money, and I may pay you back for the beers with Miller Lights or something. So appreciate that. I thought we had some good ideas, and the best idea out of this was that we don't have to bring our families when we take our business trip.
Yep, and that's a fact.
That's at least an episode or two worthy. Yeah. We can make a whole month of episodes worth of that shit.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you all next time.
This has been a Brewing Ain't Easy production in Houston, Texas. Follow us on Facebook or Instagram. And if you want to see what we're drinking, our Untappd handles are Brewing Ain't Easy Adam and Brewing Ain't Easy Drew.
This has been a Cross the Streams Media Podcast.